Hello friends, welcome to all. Myself Vishal Jogidas. Our today's topic is ground electrodes and earth resistance test, and it is covered in the subject of power quality and management. Ground electrodes. In this section, various types of ground electrodes and their use will be discussed. The NEC states that the following elements are part of a ground electrode system in a facility. First one is metal underground water pipe, then metal frame of buildings or structures, concrete encased electrodes, then ground rings, other made electrodes such as underground structures, road and pipe electrodes, and plate electrodes when none of the above listed items is available. The code prohibits the use of a metal underground gas piping system as a ground electrode. Also, aluminum electrodes are not permitted. The NEC also mentions that when applicable, each of the items listed above should be bonded together. So this is the important. The purpose of this requirement, it means bonding of all this equipment, is to ensure that the ground electrode system is large enough to present low impedance to the flow of fault energy. Why all this preoccupation with ground systems that are extensive and interconnected? The answer is low impedance reference. Because of this, we are doing all these things. Among the additional benefits to the creation of a low impedance earth ground system is the fact that when overhead power line contacts the earth, a low impedance system will help produce ground fault currents of sufficient magnitude to operate the overcurrent protection. Okay, here low impedance ground reference provided by earth between several buildings in the same way is given in this figure. Here we can see this, the grounding is done for this building, and same way the grounding is done in this building also, in this building also. So low impedance ground reference provided by earth between all these things in the same way. Earth resistance tests. The earth resistance test is a means to ensure that the ground electrode system of a facility has adequate contact with earth. It means this test is to ensure that if the ground electrode has a proper contact with earth or not. Figure shows how an earth resistance tester is used to test the resistance between the ground grid and earth. So here figure is given ground resistance test instrument. The most common method of testing earth resistance is to fall-off potential test, for which the resistance tester is connected as shown in figure. Here we can see C1, P1, P2 and C2. So C1 and P1 are connected together, we can see this, and this is taken as reference. P2 stands for potential contact and C2 stands for current contact, and this is nothing but earth resistance tester. So C1 P1 is directly connected with the reference electrode, and P2 is connected with another electrode, and P3 is connected with some other electrode, and distance between current electrode and reference is taken as capital L. The ground electrode of the facility or building is used as the reference point. Two ground rods are driven as indicated. Here we can see these two ground rods are driven. The furthest rod is called the current rod. We have seen that. And the rod at the intermediate point is the potential rod or P2. The known current is circulated between the reference electrode and the current rod. The voltage drop is measured between the reference ground electrode and the potential rod. The ground resistance is calculated as the ratio between the voltage and current, and it is nothing but Ohm's law. So we know that Ohm's law is equal to V is equal to IR. The test automatically calculates and displays the resistance in ohms. The potential rod is then moved to another location and the test is repeated. So we have to do this test for different locations. The resistance values are plotted against the distance from the reference rod. It means L. Here we can see this. In x-axis there is a distance and in y-axis there is a resistance. The graph in figure is a typical earth resistance curve. The earth resistance is represented by the values corresponding to the flat portion of the curve. Okay, flat portion. It means here is we can see flat portion. In typical ground grid systems, the values at a distance 0.62, it means 62% of the total resistance between the reference electrode and the current rod is taken as the resistance of the ground system with respect to earth. In this graph we can see here is a 0.62 L. It means 62% of L. So this value will be taken as a resistance. Earth resistance test. The distance between the reference electrode and the current rod is determined by the type and size of the ground grid system. It means the distances depends on different types and size. For a single ground rod, the distance of 100 to 150 feet is adequate. For large ground grid systems consisting of multiple ground rods, ground rings or concrete encased systems, the distance between the reference ground electrode and the current rod should be 5 to 10 times the diagonal measure of the ground grid systems. So this is standard. The reason is that as current are injected into the earth, electrical fields are set up around the electrodes in the form of cells. To prevent erroneous results, the two sets of cells around the reference electrode and the current electrode should not overlap. It means these two are not overlap. Otherwise the error may be introduced in the system. The greater the distance between the two, the more accurate the ground resistance test results. It means the greater the distance between the two, then the result will be accurate. Earth resistance depends on the type of soil, its mineral composition, its moisture content and temperature. So all these parameters are depends on the earth resistance. Earth ground grid systems. Ground grids can take different forms and shapes. The ultimate purpose is to provide a metal grid of sufficient area of contact with the earth so as to derive low resistance between the ground electrode and the earth. Two of the main requirements of any ground grids are to ensure that it will be stable with time and it will not form chemical reactions with other metal objects in the vicinity, such as uh, buried water pipes, building reinforcement bars, etc., and cause corrosion either in the ground grid or the neighboring metal objects. So these are the requirements. Ground rods. According to the NEC, ground rods should not be less than 8 feet long and should consist of the following: electrodes of conduits or pipes that are no smaller than 3 by 4 inch threads size. When these conduits are made of steel, the outer surface should be galvanized or otherwise metal coated for corrosion protection. Okay, so for corrosion protection, either we have to galvanize the outer surface or metal coated. Now, ground rods. Electrodes rods of iron or steel that are at least 5 by 8 inches in 5 to 8 inches in diameter. The electrodes should be installed so that at least 8 feet length is in contact with soil. See, this 8 feet is not it is a minimum length. It means the length may be larger than 8 feet. Typically, copper-clad steel rods are used for ground rods. Steel provides the strength needed to withstand the forces during driving of the rod into the soil, while the copper coating provides corrosion protection and also allows copper conductors to be attached to the ground rod. The values indicated above are the minimum values. I have mentioned earlier that it is the minimum values. It means actual values may be larger than these minimum values. Depending on the installation and the type of soil encountered, larger and longer rods or pipes may be needed. It depends on type of soil. Now we will see two tables. Table 1 shows earth resistance variation with the length of the ground rod, and table 2 shows earth resistance values for ground rods for various parameters. The values are shown for a soil with a typical ground resistivity of 10,000 ohm into centimeter. In next we will see these two tables. Yes, this is in first table, effect of ground rod length on earth resistance. In first column we will see, in first column we can see ground rod length in feet, and in the second column there is a earth resistance in ohms. So for 5 feet length of ground rod, earth resistance will be 40 ohm. For 8 feet length of ground rod, there will be earth resistance of 25. Then for 10 feet there is a resistance is 21, and so on. So by observing this table, we can say that as the ground rod length is increases, the resistance is decreases. So this is the effect of ground rod length on earth resistance. And here one note is there, soil resistivity taken is 10,000 ohm into centimeter. Now talking about second table, effect of ground rod diameter on earth resistance. In first column we have taken rod diameter in inches, and in second column resistance, percentage resistance. For 0.5 inches rod diameter, the resistance will be 100%. For 0.75 inches rod diameter, the resistance will be 90%. And as we can observe from this table that as the rod diameter is increases, the percentage resistance is decreases. So this is the effect of ground rod diameter on earth resistance. Here also we have take soil resistivity will be 10,000 ohm into centimeter, and another note is resistance of a 0.5 inch diameter rod is used as reference. Now plates. Rectangular or circular plates should present an area of at least 2 feet square to a soil. Electrodes of iron and steel shall be at least 1 by 4 inch in thickness. See, this 1 by 4 inch is minimum values. Electrodes of non-ferrous metal should have minimum thickness of 0.06 inch. Plate electrodes are to be installed at a minimum distance of 2.5 feet below the surface of the earth. It means from the surface it should be minimum 2.5 feet below the surface, and in some cases it may be in greater than 2.5 feet. This table gives the earth resistance values for circular plates buried 3 feet below the surface in oil with resistivity of 10,000 ohm into centimeter. So in this table, resistance of circular plates buried 3 feet below surface. In first column there is a plate area, and in second column earth resistance. If the plate area is 2 feet square, then earth resistance will be 30 ohm. If the plate area is 4 feet square, then earth resistance will be 23 ohm. So we can observe from this table that as the plate area is increases, the earth resistance is decreases. We can observe from this table. And here is also we have taken a soil resistivity is equal to 10,000 ohm into centimeter. So this is all about plates. Now grounding ring. The ground ring encircling a building in direct contact with earth should be installed at a depth of not less than 2.5 feet below the surface of the earth. The ground ring should consist of at least 20 feet of bare copper conductor sized not less than 2 gauge. See, 2 AWG, it means 2 American wire gauge. Typically, ground rings are installed in trenches around the buildings, and wire tails are brought out for connection to the grounded service conductor at the service disconnect panel or switchboard. It is preferred that a continuous piece of wire be used. So it is preferable. Table provides the resistance of two conductors buried 3 feet below the surface for various conductor lengths. The values contained in the table are intended to point out the variations that may be obtained using different types of earth electrodes. The values are not to be used for designing ground grids, as the values are apt to change with the type of soil and soil temperatures at the installation. Earth resistance of buried conductors. See, here we have given in first column wire size in American wire gauge, then resistance for total buried wire length. It is given for different length. Okay, for 6 gauge and 20 feet, there is a 23 ohm resistance will be there. So this is the typical values given in this table. One note is also here, soil resistivity is taken as 10,000 ohm into centimeter. Reference is taken from book Power Quality by C. Shankaran, CRC Press. Thank you.